Okay, today we're here to talk about RBAC, role-based access control. So there's three types of access control. There's role-based access control, relation-based access control, and attribute-based access control. On my channel, I'm going to cover role-based, and that's this video, and relation-based. That will be in another video. And attribute based, I'm not gonna cover it because I haven't used this yet, so I don't think it's very useful in most cases. Now, we're gonna start with this project, which is the end of my last video about authentication. I will post a GitHub link in which you can clone this repository with all the same starter code as mine. So the goal in this video is going to be to add a role field to our user schema and create a product schema as well. And we're going to be able to allow users to create products and list products, but deleting products will only be available to admins. So let's get started. So we're going to start by taking a new schema, which is the role schema, and we're going to add it to the user here. So roles, role, just like this with an S. Now we're also going to create a new schema for our products, which is a simple schema just with a name. It's a basic entity. You can replace this with whatever you want in your application. And we're going to create a new module, a new controller, a new products module. Here we go, the products module. I'll copy this over from my reference project, but I'm going to go over everything. So let's start by the module. Module imports our Prisma module, which is right here, which simply imports the service, which is a Prisma client. There you go. So let's go back to the products module. Then we have a controller and a service. The controller allows us to do multiple things. So let's just remove this since it doesn't find it. We're gonna have to fix this. It exposes three routes: a create product route, a get all products, and a delete product. Like I said, the delete product is only for admins. So this is a decorator that we're going to build that allows us to simply specify which route needs which roles. Okay, before fixing these errors, let's look at the service here. So in the service here, we have a lot of errors because we need to go and generate our Prisma schemas. So I'm gonna do npx prisma migrate dev, but this is not gonna work because the database is not open. So I'm gonna come here and do sudo docker compose up. Okay, so we already have a container. So I did sudo docker container prune to fix that. Now sudo docker compose up. There we go. Okay, now if I come back here and do again npx prisma migrate dev, this will create our new product model, and also it will update our user model to include the rules. There we go, now we don't have errors anymore. So this service is a basic service that does almost the same thing as the user service here that we had in our starter code. Allows us to create, update a user, and delete a user. Well, this is the same thing. It allows us to create a product, find one product, list a bunch of products, and delete a product. All of these are pretty straightforward, except maybe this one, so I might explain this one. So here, in order to make a generic function that allows us to list a bunch of products, it takes quite a few arguments like a skip, take, cursor, etc. So skip allows you to skip a certain amount of records inside your database. Take allows you to ask for a specific amount of results. So if there are hundreds of products in your database, for example, and you only want 5, then you're going to specify take 5. Where is the condition, just like anywhere else. And order by, well, you can sort them by something, by name or stuff like that. Okay, so I think the service is self-explanatory other than that. Now let's go back into the controller. Inside the control, so I'm just gonna show you like this slowly. There we go. So here we have something that we haven't covered on my channel yet. So this is a decorator that allows us to extract something from the route here. So since we have ID here, because we want to delete one specific element, one specific product from our database, we can extract it by using @param here. And here we specify a pipe. So this is a custom pipe that I created that we're gonna copy over here. There you go, is valid ID pipe. So what this does is it implements a pipe transform from NestJS common, and this should throw an error if something is wrong, and it should return a value if everything is okay. So what we do is we take the value inside the pipe. So this value can be anything, and it comes from the value that is given by this here. So it will take the value of the ID, and then we try to parse it as an int. Then if it's not a number, so for example, if it's a string, or if the ID is less than 0, because that's not possible in PostgreSQL, then we throw a bad requests exception by saying that it's an invalid ID, and otherwise we return the ID. And now this allows us to, instead of here having an ID string, we can directly have an ID number, which is useful. And every time we have an ID, we don't have to recreate this code to make sure that it's an int, that it's valid, etc. We can just use this pipe, so very useful. Now we're not gonna fix this yet. First, we're gonna go into the user controller and we're gonna create a new route which allows us to give roles to certain users. So I'm gonna copy it over. Here we go. So we're using a guard, which is the API key guard, which we're going to make. We're specifying that this route is public because since, oh no, this is the wrong import. Here we go. Since, let me see where it is. It's in the auth module, I think. The auth module here. Here we specify that every single route uses the JWT auth guard. So that means that we need to specify an auth token in order to access the route, except for the routes that have the public decorator, just like this. Because if we go check here inside the guards, JWT guard, we check if the is public key is set, and we set this with the public decorator. Here we set this key. So basically, we do not use JWT auth guard if this is set. So since this route, we don't want JWT authentication, but we want API key authentication, we set it as public. Then we take the post. So this route gives a role to a certain user. The ID is the user ID. So again, we use the same pipe. And here the body is a give role DTO. So this is something that we have to create. So I'm gonna copy it over here. There we go, DTO, give role DTO. So this is simple, it's just a role. The role comes from Prisma client because we created it right here. It's a Prisma enum. And now we can import it here. Oh yeah, and again, also here, this makes sure that whatever is given inside the role field is actually of type enum. So if we pass admin AAABC, for example, which is not a correct role, it will throw an error automatically because we have the class validator pipe somewhere. So this is probably, let me look where it is. So it's right here in the app module. We have the validation pipe, which allows use to use stuff like this, these decorators, to make sure that it has the right values. So I will showcase this later in Postman. So now let's create the API key guard. Just before that, we're gonna come here and import this, and we're gonna go inside our service and create this function as well. Okay, there we go. give role, so it takes the DTO. So what this does is we find a user with a specific ID and we update the roles and we push the DTO role inside the roles array. So one thing is that we do not check if the user is already part of this role, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now let's create this API key guard. Um, so this guard is So this guard, I'm gonna put it inside here, inside the auth module, API key guard. So what this does is it implements can activate, just like any guard. For example, the JWT guard here. Well, JWT guard doesn't extend can activate because this one already extends it. Now, what this does, can activate, this means that we have to have a function can activate, and this one needs to return true if the user can continue, and otherwise it should throw an error. So what we do is we take the context, we switch to HTTP, we get the API key from our .env file. So this is right here. Um, Oops, wait, .env. It's just here. Voila. So here we have to add an API key. So this is a secret key that is allowed to add to give roles to users. So this is not to be shared. Even though I'm gonna share it in this video, it doesn't matter. It's just a tutorial here. So in order to create an API key or a JWT secret, etc., you can run this command here. So I'll let you take a look at it, but when you run it here, it gives you a bunch of letters and numbers, and this can be used as your API key. So we come back here. So we get the API key from the environment. If it's not present, it will throw. So this is what we want because we need an API key. And we take the one from the request API key. So this is not in caps lock. It does not matter because in the headers, it will never be in caps lock. And then we check if there's an API key in the request. So if it's not, then it will not go inside this condition and it will throw the error. And we also check that the keys are the same. If it's the same, then we allow it. Then we allow the request to continue. So here inside this function, we can be assured that the user has the API key and he's allowed to do whatever he wants to do in this function. So in this function, we add a role to a user. Before adding the role, we check that the user exists though. Okay, we have some errors here. So, I know this is just formatting. Now here. Okay, so here we're gonna have a new decorator which allows us to say that a specific route needs a specific role. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna go inside the decorators here. We're gonna add a new decorator, required roles. We're gonna come and import this. Roles key is not present, so we're gonna come do it and we're gonna create roles key roles just like that. That way it's good now. And this should be good as well now. And we can import roles. So right now we have the decorator, but it doesn't do anything because we have nothing that actually checks this field and makes sure that the roles are that the user has the roles. So that's what we're gonna implement now. So we need a roles guard. So if we go here in authentication module, inside the guards here, we're gonna add a new guard, a roles guard. There we go. So this roles guard implements can activate. Again, it needs to return true if the user has access, and otherwise it should return false or throw an error. So we check, we get all the roles on the function on the controller here using the decorator. So we get this. If there are no rules, then it's true. And if there are roles, then we get the user and we check if the user has any of the mentioned rules. So this acts like an OR basically. So we could do moderators. For example, if we want to allow moderators or admins to delete a product, then we would do it like this. Hopla. So now, if I'm not mistaken, no, we're not done yet. We have to use this roles guard somewhere. We have to specify that it should be used everywhere. So we're gonna go inside the auth module here, and under the JWT guard, we're gonna specify as well. So this means that we use the JWT guard on every single route, while on every single route we also want to use the roles guard. Because since this roles guard checks if there are no roles, it's fine to use it everywhere. So for example, it will also check on and here, but since we do not specify any roles, it won't give an error or anything because here we check if there are no roles, then we return true. So now we're gonna run the project for the first time and see how it's doing. So npm run start dev. So let's see if we have any errors. Okay, no errors for now. So now let's go inside Postman and check if everything works correctly. Okay, so now we're in Postman. So I created some collections here to make it quicker, but I'm gonna explain everything. So for example, here we have an API key collection which has an authorization of type API key. So usually we use bearer token, but in this case we use API key. The key is API key. So this is because in here inside the code, if we go back up, we have the API key guard and we check for API key. As I mentioned earlier, this is not in caps lock and this is in caps lock, but it doesn't really matter. Even if I put this in small letters, it will still work. There we go. Then what else? So here as value, it's API key from the environment variables. So here inside my local environment, I have multiple variables such as the host, the JWT, and the API key. So you can update this with your own values in order for your Postman to work as well. And then here inside every request of this collection, but we only have one request, we come into authorization and it inherits from the auth parent. And then inside body, here we can specify a role. So for example, if I do like this, for example, we want to give user one the role this up. Then, well, it says invalid API key. So let's check why it says that. Well, it says that because our system is working properly and this is not the right API key. So if I go here, this is our API key. So I have to come here and the current value is this. There we go. So now I should be able to give a role. There we go. But it says an error because this is not a valid role because we only have admin and moderator. So these values, admin and moderator, they come from here, roles Prisma, admin and moderator. So if I remove this and I add myself as an admin, actually let's not add myself as an admin yet. Oh, okay, let's add myself as an admin. Oh, well, it says user not found, okay. So let's go create a user. We'll do admin. We'll register a new user admin, which has ID 1. And then we're gonna log in here, admin. There we go. And we're also gonna create a new user, basic. There we go. And we're gonna start with the basic one. So I misspelled here, basic. There we go. We're gonna take this token and we're gonna come here in our environment and we're gonna update to JWT. There we go. So now we're gonna run all our requests as the basic user, except for this one because this one uses an API key. So if I want to come here and I want to give the user one, which is the admin, the role admin, up like this, now the user admin has the role admin. So we're gonna come here, we're gonna come create a product. But actually, let's start by listing all the products. cannot get products. Okay, so this is something that I forgot. We have to come here and inside our app module, we have to include our product module that we created earlier. Now, if we, yeah, no errors, and if we run this again, there we go. So there are no products. If we create a product, up like this, and we come here back again, we can list the products. Now, if I want to try to delete this product, so this product has ID 1. If I want to try to delete this product, let's first try to delete a product that doesn't exist like this. It will tell us for forbidden resource. But it tells us forbidden resource because we are not admin. So even if this does exist like this, it won't work because we're not admin. And this works because if we come back, so this is the product controller. If you come back here, we have a required role of admin. And this decorator works because we have inside the auth module, we have the roles guard. So now let's try to log in as an admin. So admin, here we go. So remember this one has the role admin because we gave it with using the API key. So on top of logging in, we need to replace the JWT here. There we go. So now we're going to run all our requests as the admin. I'm just going to close all of this. There we go. So if I can still list all products, and if I want to delete a product, so let's try again deleting something that doesn't exist. It will tell us that it's an invalid ID this time because this is not a number. So this is because of this code is valid ID pipeline that I showed earlier. And now if I put 90, for example, which is a valid ID but does not exist, then it will tell us product not found. And this is because of here, this code. Because before deleting it, we actually check if this product exists. And now if I put number, so let's make sure ID 1, if I put ID 1, since I'm an admin, this should work. There you go, it worked. And now if I get all, there's no more products here. So this is it. This is role-based access control for you. We have shown that you can create roles, you can assign them to users. In order to assign them, we use an API key, which should stay secret and only be used by developers or super admins, whatever you call them, but people who have technical knowledge about who should have access to a certain role. You could also make another role, another route that allows to give access to other roles. So you can say, for example, that you can add a super admin role and only give yourself a super admin, for example, or someone else, a friend, or I don't know, and then create a route which allows you to add roles if you're a super admin. So basically the same thing as that we have right here, but instead of using an API key, you would check that you're a super admin. So in summary, we've seen role-based access control. This is what most applications use because most applications aren't complex, but whenever you need some more detailed authorization, you're going to use relation-based access control, and I will present that in another video. Uh, but just to give you a little explanation of what it is, relation-based access control, it's about, for example, if you have a meeting, and whenever there's a meeting, you also have meeting statistics attached to the meeting. Well, if you want to check if the user is allowed to read the meeting statistics, how you would do that is you would see, is the user part of the meeting? So to check if the user is allowed to read the user statistics, you would check if the user is allowed to view the meeting. So you would actually check another object instead of the statistics. That is called relation-based access control. It's very useful and very powerful, but that it's out of the scope of this video. So that was role-based access control for you. I hope you understood everything, and if you didn't, then please leave comments inside the description, the comment section, and I'll try to help you. And subscribe if you learned something, and see you in the next video.